What is going on, Ravens flock? And we are back here again for Ravens Way podcast number 16. Feeling good here. We are almost there. We are a month from now. Actually, we would play the Texans on the home opening game in Baltimore. So feeling good. It's been a long off season. We've stuck it through. We've at least put out 2 a month, and now we're back and we're ready to rock. We're ready to go. Foss, how we doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm refreshed. I appreciate you filling in with Kevin last week. Well, I got a little rejuvenation, and now I can see the roster from taking a step back, and I'm sounding the alarm. I'm pressing the panic button on pass defense at this point because, we had so many guys that we thought were borderline, can they break out or can they bring insurance? And they're all hurt. And it's, desperate times as far as I'm concerned right now.
Yeah, definitely. We have some people down and, can you really give them the benefit of the doubt?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I really don't. Just because in years past, we've given them the benefit of the doubt and, got burned because of it. So some pretty big news this week that I had a nice little scoop on. Was trying to give a little optimism that Jadavian Clowney was coming in to visit this week. And I think that was Tuesday. He came in to visit and stayed through Wednesday, as we were told, and maybe stayed today. Who knows? I didn't get a really reading on that. But out of all the free agents left, you got to feel like that's the biggest needle mover that's out there. And I'd be remiss to say that if you're going to go out and put void years into Beckham and you send, if the money is an extra $2 million that he wants, why not just kick it down the road like you did with the other guys? So, Boss, thoughts on Clowney?
No, I completely agree with that mindset. If you're going to start opening that void years can of worms, you might as well build a complete team. I mean, there's no sense in mortgaging future seasons to still go out in the walkout round. It doesn't make sense to me. So I think Clowney would be a very ideal fit, complementary to what they have with Ojabo and Owe as athletic speed rushers, a guy that can kick inside and round out the whole crew. I really do think he's the ideal guy. I know, maybe the fallback option is Melvin Ingram. I don't trust his knees at this point. He's had quite a few knee injuries. I mean, to me, Clowney's the guy. The time is now. It's not right player, right place, right price. It's right player, right time. And the time is now to get Jadavian Clowney. So I'm in total lockstep with you. I think that would be the addition, maybe the only difference maker left on the market right now. So for another million, half or more, 2 million even, get it done. The time is now. Carpe diem.
Definitely, yeah. And you don't want to be left hanging, so to say, and then wait around and you still want to talk to other available free agents, but this really, like you said, this is the time is now. You really shouldn't go through this weekend without a deal being done with him. I don't see a reason why not. Like you said, he's really is the biggest difference maker left in the market that complements what we have. I just don't see the need for another Sam linebacker in Van Noy. And, if it was the price hypothetical was Van Noy for 5 or Clowney for 7, I'd take Clowney for 7 all day. And I'd move on.
So we've been talking about Jason a little bit about this and the Sam and how important is Sam. And I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I'm going back and forth on that probably 2-3 times this week. But to me, the bottom line is if you can get an above average Sam like Bowser, it's worth it. But if you can get just like a jack of all trades kind of Sam, like Van Noy, it's not. He's not a difference maker at that point. Bowser, his level of coverage makes a difference. Van Noy doesn't. That's the way I see it, at least.
Definitely. And, you have to think about how many snaps is a backup Sam really going to get on the field versus a third edge rusher like Clowney. I feel like that in terms of getting return of investment, I just feel like Clowney is probably going to offer a little more bang for your buck versus Van Noy, who's really not going to see a lot of the field if we want him as a Sam role. And if you're trying to put him to some other role, he really hasn't done that. That's not the role he's been playing over the past couple of years. So, just to round it out, I feel like, the time, like you said, really is now. And by Saturday at noon, we should have Jadeveon Clowney as a Raven.
Yeah, God willing, I hope so. For what really the complementary piece that this front seven needs, I think, gives you a little bit of extra depth on the defensive line as well as outside backer core with the upside. I think there's not a whole lot of times where I've been a Ravens fan in the last 10 years where the right player came into the microscope, into the bullseye at the right time versus this. And I would go higher, you got to pony up an extra $1 million to make it happen. That's how it goes sometimes, where a lot of the high-end guys come off the board early and the middle-end guys come off the board semi-late for values. And then once you get down to the nitty-gritty of it and there's only 2 or 3 guys left, then you got to pony up. So maybe DeCosta waited too long. I think he probably waited too long on cornerback too. I think we're going to get to that in a minute. But you got to do what you got to do sometimes, Right player, right time. Forget about right player, right price. Right player, right price resulted in the Ravens accomplishing 3 divisional round appearances in 10 years. So that's definitely a regression. I think anyone that's realistic can see that. So I really want them to get Clowney. I think you get Clowney, you get away with maybe a little bit lesser secondary, but you gotta add something at this point. This is reaching critical mass. Like I'm pounding the panic button at cornerback right now.
Definitely. And also, if something were to happen and Oweh and Ojabo can't get home, you have to get home with 4 no matter what in the NFL. I mean, in the playoffs, you can send as many sim pressures as you want, but teams will pick that apart eventually. I mean, eventually you have to be able to sit back at a certain point and play 6 DBs on the field and let your front 4 eat. And, I'm pretty optimistic that our front 4 can eat, but, to have them have a healthy, fresh rotation, I'm not so sure about that right now.
I mean, they have to get rotated. Prime age Terrell Suggs was repping 75-80% of snaps. You can't task the outside backers with one of that. That's a really hard job. That may be the hardest job in the whole field. They have 3 jobs on every play, So I really think they need a body there. I think DeCosta made a mistake going light at outside backer last year with let's give Steven Means a practice squad promotion so he can tear his ACL and whatever else he did last year. But these guys got burned out last year. I think Oweh and Houston, if they are platooned properly, can have a really good, impact season. So it's just like that combination. It'd be one thing if you were stacked at corner and you didn't have edge rushers or vice versa. But the combination of the two and you're losing your best defensive lineman at the same time, it's very concerning. And I I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid the people that don't see that as a concern are drinking, because you're looking at what, 5 of the top 6 corners didn't practice today or got carted off today. I mean, that's some serious attrition at a group that couldn't afford really any attrition because of the way they built this roster.
Yeah, yeah. It is very concerning. We're down to our 5 or 4 probably practicing today would be Marlon. Well, Armour Davis didn't even practice today, did he? So it's Marlon and Seymour and Worley and all the other guys. So
The DoorDash corners.
yeah, yeah, with the Wink DoorDash corners. Yeah, they gotta do something there too. I think that's a lot of people want a slot corner. I really don't think they need that. We saw how the outside depth is compared, and they are really thin there. I mean, it's bad.
I mean, I think they need both. Let's be real. Mollett, they signed Mollett from Pitt, and I think he can probably be a serviceable guy if he's healthy, but he hasn't practiced in a week. None of these guys. I mean, Pepe. It looked like Pepe had maybe a season-ending injury today. I don't know. It's just really thin, and that's like the worst place on the entire roster. Really thin, I think.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm concerned, and we'll see though. We'll see. I think shout out Yuri's barber. Thank you, thank you. I know I was hoping someone would give a comment on the haircut. I really did make sure I went with the 2 on the sides. So let me get it short. Let me see if that'll help me out with the ladies. But that's a sidebar. But yeah, we'll see what happens. There's still a couple names out there. There's still you know Darby and William Jackson. So we'll see. But it is very concerning. It is very concerning that we are down to 1 corner basically.
Don't say it too loud, because there's certain people in the Ravens flock that don't allow any level of pessimism, even if every single national pundit and every single beat reporter thinks that the corner group is weak. They still will not allow it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. But overall, training camp thoughts. Mark Andrews is still good at football, and I was rewatching the highlights from last year, and all of them were Mark Andrews. And it made you really think that, like, wow, he really was the only good receiver we had. But you have to feel good about that coming in this year, that the Ravens are going to have 3 tight ends that are all, in my opinion, good at football. And they each do their own thing in their own facet. And we'll hopefully that'll get showcased in the preseason. I think that's what I'm looking forward to is how these tight ends perform in the preseason. Fox, you want to answer this question here? Who's your favorite corner in the open market?
Who's my favorite corner in the open market? My favorite corner on the open market re-signed 10 days ago or 14 days ago for $3 million. Why you want to sign Melvin Gordon for insurance at running back, but you don't want to sign Marcus Peters for $3 million is beyond me, but I won't belabor that. To your point, I think that, McDonald can do a lot of things, and I think he's a good defensive coordinator, but you got to give him enough pieces. He doesn't have enough pieces right now. He really doesn't. I mean, how many starting defensive backs are healthy going into the preseason week 1? I mean, you're literally looking at it like nobody wants to hear this, but Mullins on IR. Yasin is hurt. Geno Stone, the third safety, is hurt. Pepe's hurt. Jalen Armour Davis is hurt. I mean, You're like going to start Jalen Mayfield, the UDFA, and Caillou Kelly, the 6th round, 5th round. What was he, 5th round?
Fifth, fifth.
But he was overdrafted in the 5th. He should have been a 6th round. I mean, like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? The Ravens' entire defensive legacy has been built upon having good defensive backs. And now it's like they're just treading water. Okay, finally they get some good receivers at the expense of corners and pass rushers. Like, what are we doing? How about you, for once in the last decade, build a complete team that is ready to counter these AFC quarterbacks? Because there's quite a few of them. And I don't think Rocky Sin and Brennan Stevens and whoever else you're throwing out there are going to be able to get it done against Mahomes and Burrow and Herbert and Lawrence and all these guys. And it's kind of a shame. It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I would also agree with the our favorite corner being signed 10 days ago. I know Ramey also wanted him back, Marcus Peters that being. So have a moment of silence for the Marcus Peters truthers. Yeah. And it is unfortunate that his replacement is out, but who could have guessed that? But touching back on who has played well here in training camp, it's really hard to judge what's going on out there because these reports, how much can you really gain from them? And I think the most we'll really see is from the open practices. I think that's where we're really going to get the reports that give us a good feel about some of these players. What do you think, Boss? What are your thoughts? Kind of, is anyone sticking out here for training camp? You're like,
I mean, I think Zay Flowers is sticking out in training camp. I think the one-on-ones, receivers versus corners, is probably, the only thing you could take away from the first couple of weeks of training camp. And Flowers is lighting them all up. So I would say that. Hamilton apparently looks pretty good on the back end. I want to see it in the first quarter of the season, but I'm cautiously optimistic on Hamilton and his range as a 2-high safety. Other than that, they're playing patty cake on the trenches, so there's nothing really you can take from that. But we'll dive into I think what we're looking for in the preseason week 1. We'll get into maybe they're playing a little bit more rough and tumble.
Yeah, hopefully. I guess to get into it, I guess Caillou Blue Kelly is now is corner 3 basically on the roster. Corner 2 maybe at least healthy. So you gotta hope that he goes out there and has a good game and maybe gives us a little optimism to look forward to that he can be that guy to step into the third corner role. You have Stevens as well. I don't even know if I want to play Stevens at this point. With how thin they are, I just feel like
they gotta play him, man. How are these guys going to get experience? So now we don't want to invest in corner, and then we hold all these guys out because we're too thin a corner. Like, what kind of strategy is that? That's like asinine to me.
But that's the one we're dealt, and
no, it's still asinine though.
That's the one we're dealt. I just feel like, you put him out there and he gets hurt, and now you're really in desperate territory where you're gonna have to like sign 2 or 3 guys off the street to go play the next preseason game. I prefer not to be in that territory, but overall, preseason, Voss, give me come on, give me three things. Three things you're like, I'm looking forward to this player, this scheme.
Yeah. All right. So number one has to be Salah. Let's let him. I think he's primed and poised to snatch that left guard job as it stands. There's a lot of Simpson. He's a wide body. It's a lot of penalties. I don't think he's a guy. I think the ceiling on the O line is better with Salah. So left guard competition is definitely one of the main things I'm looking for. Corner and the defensive backs rotation. Who's playing nickel? I mean, Ardarius Washington is probably the best nickel, and I'm hoping he gets some run and he can seize that spot and make the Costa double think some of those sunk costs he put in some of these high floor, quad A floor. Like Pepe's like, to use still a baseball term, he's like a 4A kind of prospect. And then other than that, I mean, that's probably the only two things. Like who's running on deep safety? Like how does Daryl Worley look as a strong safety, as a potentially dime backer? Those are probably what I'm looking for because it's pass defense and left guard. Other than that, they're right up there with like the best of the best. I think they're right. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. That's how I see it, though. Find a solution to left guard, figure out your pass defense, and add two more pieces to the pass defense, and let's roll. Like, let's go take down KC. But if not, you want to pinch pennies and say, let's save this extra $1 million for next year so we can loosen the walk around every year. That's what I'm not interested in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I feel like they are really close and just need that final two pieces. And hopefully, like we talked about earlier, one being Clowney, and then one. I was kind of maybe optimistic that they could wait till the deadline to get a corner, but now with how thin it is, I really don't think that's going to work out. They're probably going to get two corners, one now.
They're not going to pay for a corner at deadline. DaCosta doesn't pay for premium positions. He doesn't pay a premium for premium positions, and he showed us that for 5 years now. We need to adjust our expectations.
Well, they traded for Marcus Peters and Yannick Ngakoue at the deadline. So
yeah, but what did he pay for that?
A third and a fifth, and a fifth-round pick for.
Well, he won't tap into a second rounder unless it's for a linebacker. He won't. That's the truth.
I don't know, man. He showed me something different. I mean, he used the void years on Beckham and really did do something out of character. So third and fifth round pick isn't something to snark at for Ngakoue. I mean, it didn't work out, and maybe he shies away from doing another move like that. But
I'm from Missouri. Like, show me. We were talking on the space before. I think it was Garnett and a couple Chalo and a couple of the guys we talked to on the regular. And I just don't see him doing it. Like last year, there were receivers, but he didn't want to pay the price, And this year, there's going to be corners and pass rushers. But prove me wrong, Eric DaCosta. Prove me wrong. I just, after following this team for a lot of years, I do not see him putting up unless it's value. And it's unlikely to be value at the positions they need help with.
Well, I'm the optimistic one here. I'll say that I think he does something at the deadline that's at edge or corner, probably corner if Clowney comes. So, But my three things I'm looking forward to in the preseason. Number one would be Tavius Robinson. How well does he play? Can he be that Pernell McPhee style linebacker where he can go out there and do a few things, be valuable? I look forward to that. And I look forward to Zay Flowers probably getting some punt returns and some kick returns. He's probably going to return one for a touchdown during the preseason. He probably will at some point. Just have that feeling. It's deep inside. I'm hooked on a feeling. I just hooked on a feeling. And then the last one, like you said, corner. Who's gonna play? Period. Who's gonna play, and then who's gonna play well? We'll see. I mean, once again, these are preseason games, so there's only so much we can take from them. I guess my last thing would be is how deep does Mike McDonald keep the safeties? I feel like an something that you can kind of use to make up for having bad corners is probably playing too high a lot, too high. And does he run a lot of cover 1 and 3, or is he sticking in cover 2 and quarters? I think that'll be something that'll be interesting to watch. But outside of that, I think the preseason streak stays alive for another week. I don't think they're going to lose. This is John Harbaugh's Super Bowl this week, next week, and the week after. So,
yeah, I think I would wager that the preseason streak stays intact, and the postseason streak also stays intact, because that's how you want to build a team with depth that that you can lose your top 7 players or whatever it was in 2021 and still win 8 games, and you can win 23 preseason games in a row. That's the policy that the teams that win playoff games don't follow. So depends what you're looking for, and I'm not looking for regular season wins anymore, personally.
yeah. Well, I don't think the streak will stay alive this year. I think it'll end not this week, the week following, to the Commanders for reasons, that may be on my shirt. But overall, not really too much going on outside of the just the camp continuing on. Corner, a little bit thin, and
a little bit, just a little bit, or a lot of
bit. Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. That's all.
Just 5 of the top 6 are hurt.
Just a little bit.
Who could have possibly thought that cornerbacks depth would be an issue? Not I. I mean, who could have possibly thought?
Well, we can trade for Marcus Peters at the deadline.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yep. Boss, you got any last thoughts, topics?
I love this team. I love this franchise. I think they do a lot of things in the right way, but people get mad when I make this point, but Eric DeCosta, for now 4 years running, has left one premium position vulnerable, and it's come back to bite him in his rear end. And I'm still wondering when he's going to learn this lesson. Ozzie Newsome said, Ozzie, the Godfather, like bless yourself when he says his name, said you can never have enough corners. And somehow Eric DeCosta misinterpreted and said you can never have enough linebackers. But that's not what Ozzie said, So, I'm cautiously optimistic. I didn't want this to be a shootout kind of team. I thought you get some good receivers, you get a good offensive line, you get a good coordinator, and you maintain the pass defense that you had. Maybe it comes at the expense of the run defense, God forbid, the least important phase, and he could piece it together. But he chose to go another way, and I'm pretty skeptical, but I'm cautiously optimistic. So, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is let's go score some points, and when they score back, score more. I think it's going to be a fun season. I don't think they're going to suck by any means. I think they'll probably win 12 games in the regular season. I don't think that's being too homerish. They signed Clowney and Darby. I think that number can bump up to 13 for me. And then, we'll see. I do think that is a rough first 5 games, and we'll probably get into it we'll probably get into it as the games come and go. But a lot of rough games, and your corners being out now. They may have lucked out with Burrow potentially being out week 2. They really may have. So overall, the only last thing would be the Broderick Washington extension. I feel like out of all the D linemen to get extended, he was probably the most likely because he was the cheapest. And
devalue skill set.
I mean, he's hard to like really scout and see what, like, is he just a run stuffer? Is he a pass rusher? I think he's a solid piece. And I think it's going to be unfortunate when Justin Madubuike leaves this offseason. I think that will I really think Madubuike is going to go off. I think he's going to have 8, 9, 10. But it seems like Broderick Washington's in your Brandon Williams section.
I hope that Broderick Washington's 3 times the pass rusher that Brandon Williams ever was. 5 times. But I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm kind of ambivalent on this one. They have $15 million cap space next year, essentially. You can move some things around, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're putting 25% of their cap on Broderick Washington, which to me, I would much rather get like a high-end kind of guys. I'd rather get 1 high-end difference maker than 3 middle-tier guys, because I think you can probably find a Broderick Washington skill set UDFA on day 3. But defensive linemen are scarce these days, so I'm like I said, I'm ambivalent. I'm okay with it. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. It does speak to the Ravens mentality of raise the floor, not the ceiling. Like, to me, this is a signing that shows it's the first big signing, big extension after Lamar and Beckham, which was kind of like a pivotal watershed moment in the franchise history, and not necessarily what I was looking for. I would rather pay twice that for Madubuike if it was up to me, but I'm a little bit militant on positional value and skill set value, and I understand that. I'm okay with the signing, but I'm not doing cartwheels, and I do think there's an opportunity cost that should be recognized. Everything the Ravens do isn't just good because the Ravens do it. Let's evaluate some of the angles, and Calais Campbell signed a contract this offseason that pays him $7 million up to $9 million. He was better than Broderick Washington last year by all metrics, by run defense, pass defense, everything. And now you're going to give this guy a contract averaging 5.8. It deserves to be criticized. It is not criticized, but it deserves to be critiqued and put on the microscope. And I don't think it's a bad contract, but I don't think it's a good contract either. I think pretty much everybody's in lockstep on that. It's just like, oh, we only have one defensive lineman coming back next year. What are we going to do? Well, you could probably sign Michael Pierce for vet minimum and Brent Urban for vet minimum. And what the hell are you doing at cornerback when you might only have one starting caliber cornerback this year? You want to talk about next year? How about this year? So I rest my case on that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think next draft will be fun. Hopefully the Ravens draft.
At what point do you say we cannot BPA anymore? Because we're BPA to death and we have the most devalued position roster besides the Detroit Lions on the entire league. We just can't BPA it anymore. You can't BPA free agency and BPA for the draft, and then all the other teams get the position to win the playoffs, and then you don't win the playoffs, and you're like, I don't know why we lost the playoffs. Like, come on.
Execution. We lost because execution bust. You remember?
I recommend executing all the devalued positions.
All right, and with that, not a lot else going on. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully the Ravens. Who gives a fuck? Win, lose, it's preseason. Hopefully just some players play well, and we have a little bit of optimism to join us into the next week. And I will be at the Commanders joint practice on Tuesday, so hopefully I can come back with some vital information and some optimism. Some optimism about the corner group, some optimism about pretty much everything, because these are going to be guys and schemes that the Ravens have yet to face.
What are the odds that Broderick Washington rips Sam Howell's knee on Thursday?
-5%.
Okay.
That would probably go.
I want those odds. It's on. It's karma, baby. It's karma.
Karma. All right. See you guys.